Hey there, welcome back to Pepper Geek. In today's video, we're discussing staking pepper plants. So providing some support for your pepper plants is very important. They're relatively fragile plants, and if the winds are excessive, you might end up having snapped branches. So we're gonna go through the different species of pepper plant and how we support each of them, because it does vary a little bit from the Annuum varieties to the Chinense varieties. So I have some examples here, and I'll show you each plant and how we stake them. But before I get started, check us out on Instagram. We just crossed the 5,000 follower mark, thanks to you. So if you haven't checked it out already, we're posting lots of pictures of our current grow and interesting pepper varieties, so check us out at Pepper Geek on Instagram. Now, staking at this stage really isn't 100% necessary. If your plants have very sturdy stems like ours do, you don't really have to worry about it so much since the plants are relatively small. But if you didn't grow under grow lights or you didn't provide enough fertilizer, your plants may have relatively weak stems and they'll be vulnerable in the wind. Ours are looking pretty good, but in any case, it's definitely beneficial to provide some support when you're moving your plants outside for hardening off. And for that, we just use these bamboo skewers. We got 250 of them, they're 12 inches long, and they're just a very strong piece of bamboo with a sharp end like that. So they can insert right into these 3.5 inch pots, right alongside the base of the plant, and we can secure the plant to this with some string. So I'll show you that while I talk about this baccatum variety. As you can see here, this thing is probably 16, 18 inches tall already. It very badly needs to be transplanted into a larger container or into the ground. But just for the sake of this video, I'll show you how I would stake this. So just about an inch from the base of the plant, you can insert all the way to the bottom. It's nice that these are already sharp because that way we won't damage the roots. And then I'll just use a short piece of string like this and come above a leaf so that it doesn't slide down the plant. I like to twist around the stake at least once with the string so that it doesn't slide down the stake. And you want to leave some slack on the string so that the plant can move freely and grow, but won't topple over. Now, baccatum varieties are very tall growing plants. They tend to grow very tall. They can grow 8, 10 feet tall if you cater to them. So for our baccatum varieties, we like to use the very tall 8-foot stakes. We just stake them at the bottom of the plant, and then at various points of the plant as it grows taller, we'll secure it to that stake until it reaches a mature height or the season comes to an end. So as you can see, a stake just like this is a great support for this plant. As it wobbles around in the wind, that stake is going to help keep it supported until it's ready to move into its next location. After you move your plants into a final growing location, like a large pot or into the ground, they'll start to grow relatively fast and they can become top heavy and more vulnerable to the wind. Here is a perfect example of that. This is a Chinense pepper. This is our Bootjolokia solid gold variety pepper. It's by far the biggest plant we currently have. It's about 2 feet tall and it's in this 7-gallon fabric grow pot. We already staked this, and it's actually a very similar process. This is just a 6-foot piece of bamboo. You can't see the top of it in the frame here, but it goes almost to the ceiling in this room. It's very tall, just a couple inches off to the side of the main stem. Then we secured the plant to the stake just under the first fork with some of this plant Velcro. I like this material because it's reusable and it's easier to adjust than string if you need to give the plant a little bit more room as it grows larger. This Chinense plant will probably grow to be huge. I'm expecting it to be 5-6 feet tall by the end of the season. And as it grows, there will be more and more of these forks. You can see the first fork here. Those forks then fork again, and they'll fork again, and the plant will just keep bushing out larger and larger. And especially as the plant begins to fruit, those fruits are heavy, they will weigh down the plant, and they can break stems themselves. And so as that happens, this main stake may not be enough to support the entire plant. We'll show you later in the season, but we'll probably add more of these stakes around the edges and connect them with string to provide a place for the branches to hang. It seems like a lot of work for just one plant, but if you really want to maximize your harvests and avoid losing some peppers to a branch breaking, then it's worth it to add some extra stakes. But for now, this is perfectly fine. As you can see, it's very well secured to this stake. It was pretty wobbly before we staked it. This plant has grown beautifully. It's huge, and that stake is definitely helping it stay upright and on track to be just a beautiful plant. I have an Annuum pepper plant here, and these types of plants behave a little bit differently. So this would be your cayenne, your jalapeno, your banana pepper, your serranos, your bell peppers. You're probably growing some Annuum varieties this year. And so I want to talk about how we stake those and how it's a little bit different. For these, it's usually enough to just have one single central stake. and that's it. They can grow pretty tall and they do tend to fork, but they generally stay a little more slender, so we don't really surround them with a tomato cage style stake. Instead, you'll just drive a stake right along the side of the main stem and connect the plant to that stake as it grows taller, and that will help avoid the wind damaging the plant, especially as you have heavy fruits growing like with bell peppers. The weight of the actual fruit can cause the branches to break, so you really want to make sure as those fruits are developing and the branches are growing that you're just attaching it to the stake as it grows. And with the Annuum species, you really don't have to go too tall. I think the tallest I've seen an Annuum grow is maybe 4 or 5 feet, and that's really at the high end. Most of our Annuum species peppers are smaller, bushier, 2-3 feet tall, and wider than they are tall. Now, like I said, string is a perfectly good medium to use to connect your plants to their stakes, but we also like this Velcro. It's just a spool of Velcro that you can rip off by hand and easily attach a stake to a plant. This is like 2 years old. We only use a little bit. If you want to gather it up at the end of the season, it's reusable. I'll leave a link down below if you're interested in this stuff. It's green as well, so it kind of blends in. As for the 2 other species, you have Capsicum pubescens or the rocoto peppers, and those tend to grow tall like these baccatum species. So again, a large, tall central stake is all you're going to need for those, and attach as you go. And the frutescens species tends to grow relatively small and bushy. Maybe just one short central stake will suffice for those plants. And that's really it for staking. It's relatively simple. There are many different ways you can do it as well. Some people actually do like to use tomato cages for their peppers. It's a one-stop shop. You just pop it into your pots or into the ground around the plants when they're small, and the plants will grow into the cages as they get larger. And I actually think those are more beneficial for peppers than they are tomatoes, because tomatoes just get huge. But anyway, we're going to talk more about other things we do to prepare our potted plants in future videos, like mulching and bottom pruning. So subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for those videos. Thanks again for watching Pepper Geek, and I'll see you next time.